Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. My name is Crown, and today I'm going to read you some very interesting stories that I hope that you're gonna love. And now, without further ado, let's go! Here is a little backstory. I'm 10 years old and this happened when I was 6, so my memory of this is a bit rusty. I obviously didn't actively engage in this, but was a bystander. It was my birthday on that day. Mom asks me, OP, what do you want to get? I want this iPad. I point to an iPad mini. Alright. We walked to the line where there was a lengthy queue because there was a big sale going on. And this is where the entitled mother and her kid come in. They were behind us and had a lot of gaming gear. A monitor, yep, a gaming PC, yep, a Razer keyboard, yep, Corsair headphones, and yep, they had everything that you could ever possibly think of. The entitled kid pushes me to the side and tells me, "Get out of the way, you tiny witch." Mom gets very offended and pushes the entitled kid. "How dare you push my son?" "Get out of the way, witch." "How dare you be so offensive to us?" "My baby didn't do anything to you, you ignorant witch." Wow, this is really coming out of nowhere. My mom then proceeds to call the manager because of all this mess. Then this entitled mother says, "This woman is trying to molest my son, and in compensation you must give all of my shopping for free." The manager tells her, "Ma'am, I can only compensate you one thing. I can confirm this whole scene by viewing the security cameras first." The entitled mother realizes that she is done for, and that there is no way that she was telling the truth. "How dare you be so incompetent?" She starts to kick the manager with her Gucci high heels and signals for her son to come in with his Nike trainers, and then they bring the manager down to his knees. And then she starts to beat him with her Louis Vuitton handbag. If you're right now wondering how I know these brands, it's because my dad made his own multi-million-pound business. My mother has already called the police and they arrive just as the son kicks the manager in the ribs and he falls hard and almost loses conscience. One of the police officers asks, "Excuse me, miss, why are you beating this man?" "They," points to my mom and the manager, "tried to physically abuse my son." The police have already sent someone to check the security cameras, and they weren't just any ordinary security cameras. They had HD screens to view the tapes, and they had great sound. The police officer speaks into his radio. "Get the handcuffs on this lady and her son right now." He led them away, and my mom and the manager were asked if they wanted to press charges, and they said yes. The mother was then given a 2-year sentence for assault, but honestly, I don't know what happened to the son. My mother is the most obnoxious person you could ever deal with. She is so arrogant and condescending and won't just get off her high horse no matter what. She's someone that I found peace in leaving her behind the moment I was able to go to college. On top of all of that, she's quite wealthy, married into a rich family and well, got filthy rich overnight. Yet she won't really help a single person in her family, even if there is an emergency. As I mentioned above, me and my sister tried our best to get away from her as soon as we were able to get out of her house. No one liked her in the family. She's a know-it-all and will tell you what to do and insist you do it right now. A typical freaking Karen, but with money and authority. Contrary to our Karen of a mother, we had the anti-Karen in our beloved aunt. She's the nicest person you can imagine. Makes you wonder how can you get two completely opposite people practically coming out of the same house. We loved our aunt. We visited her a lot when we got out of our parents' house, cause when we were young, we weren't allowed to go to my aunt's, simply because she lives in a somewhat shady neighborhood, and Mama didn't want us to catch a disease. And by disease I mean poor people's habits. Little bit before Thanksgiving, my aunt picked up the phone and called me to invite me and my sister to her dinner on Thanksgiving this year. It's not much, she said, but it's best to spend it with family and the people you love. I had no other plans really. I'm a 22-year-old single guy and wasn't really up for anything special on that day. And I definitely wasn't going up to celebrate that day was Cinderella's evil stepmom. So I agreed, and so did my sister, with a little bit of convincing because she was into hosting it this year, but when I called her up to double down on my aunt's invitation, she complied and postponed her plans to the next year. A week or so after these calls, I got a new one, but this time it was from a less pleasant person. My mom. She called me up and demanded I make it home this year on Thanksgiving, since she felt generous enough to get her private cook to prepare dinner for us at night. It felt really good to tell her no. That will not be happening because, well, too bad. We are going to Aunt's this year. Me and my sister and the rest of the family are going to meet up at Aunt's during the holiday, and that we're going to have a good time with everyone. And she lost her mind. Started calling me names, telling me how dare I indicate that her poor sister is worthy of hosting the thing more than her, and demanded that I ditch my plans and come home instead. No, no, and no was my answer. I made up my mind and I won't change it. Period. And of course, she hangs up the phone in my face. And later I found out that my sister got a similar phone call from our beloved mother and gave her a similar answer, to which the mean lady on the other side of the phone lost it and hung up the phone on her as well. A few days go by and then I get another call from my mother. I hesitate to answer, but since I somehow turned out to be a somewhat decent human being unlike her, probably due to my dad raising me the right way, I decided to answer in case there is an emergency or anything of that sort. For the first 5 minutes of that phone call, I kept getting told that I am a horrible son for declining her invitation, more like order to come to her house and have dinner with her. But when she saw that she couldn't really get me to flinch, she asked me an odd request. She wanted to come to our aunt's dinner on Thanksgiving, just like the rest of the family. But Mom, you lived your entire life trying to distance yourself from these people, and now you want to have dinner with them? How so? I had no idea what she had in mind, but okay. I'll call my aunt and see what I can do. My aunt, being the warm-hearted woman she is, she welcomed the idea right away, even though her sister neglected her for so many years and gave her the worst treatment for being, well, poor. As if my mother earned that wealth she has right now. As if she didn't just get lucky and struck gold when she married my dad. Anyways, my mom is someone that always has demands and she expects people, all the people, to chop and get them done right away. Exactly the way she wants them. Even if these people aren't really related to her. Complete strangers or even small children that can't even understand what this nonsense is all about. This will be important later. On Thanksgiving, we all drove up to our aunt's house. I got there a little bit early to help, and my sister and the rest of the family started showing up one by one. All except for my mother. Honestly, we thought she's not gonna make it and we would have celebrated that as well, but it seems things turned out to be more complicated than that. Mom did not show up for dinner. Called her a few times, but her cell phone wasn't on. So I ignored it and we proceeded without her. Then all of a sudden, we hear a knock on the door and we all look at each other, trying to check who we were missing. No one. We're missing no one. Everybody's here. Oh wait, everybody's here except for my entitled mother. I go to open the door and I really get shocked when I see her standing right there shaking, with her makeup messed up and barely holding herself up. We take her inside, wrap her in a blanket, give her a hot beverage, and wait for her to calm down and tell us what the hell happened to her. Then she starts to tell us. She dressed up for the night, got into her fancy car, and drove to my aunt's. Reached my aunt's house, but instead of just parking her car like a normal person, she didn't want to park her Mercedes on this filthy street around these rusty cars. So she decided to look for a nearby parking lot and found herself one. Although when she got into this parking lot, she noticed a car parked in a corner that apparently had some guys in it. And she, being the entitled person she is, decided to have a little talk with them when she saw them smoking whatever the hell they were smoking inside this car. Remember when I said that my aunt lived in a shady neighborhood? Well, yeah. And these guys were, well, shady people. They were gang members. She walked up to their car and started berating them about what they were doing and demanding them to stop that and go elsewhere. Eventually, they pulled a gun on her and pointed it right against her head. And once she realized she's on the brink of death, she freaked out and peed herself. Apparently, they saw that and decided somehow to let her go, after taking some of her belongings, of course. And that was the moment my mother realized that she is not some sort of god. She is not invincible, and she definitely won't get away with screaming at gang members in their own hood. She's lucky she got away with just a traumatic experience. With her attitude, in that kind of situation, leaving in a body bag would have been a much more believable scenario. I won't say that this day changed my mother's behavior 180 degrees. Not really. That's not the case. But she's definitely not as bad as she was. Her perspective on some things no doubt changed. I truly hope that one day she'll become a much nicer person. Someone that I can have a normal conversation with. But until that day comes, I guess I'll just keep doing what I'm doing. This happened to my co-workers this afternoon. I work at a fast food place that is famous for being heavily for carnivores. I usually work the front counter, but I'm just feet away from the drive-thru window. Today, I heard a commotion coming from the window, and there had been a customer who was driving a truck with a trailer hitched up behind it. You know, the kind where small businesses pull around lawnmowers and such. Well, the woman behind him hadn't been paying attention and rammed her car into his trailer as he was starting to pull away. It caused a bit of damage to both the trailer and the car, but not an extreme amount. Undercarrying powers activate. This woman leaps out of her car and runs screaming up to the man in the truck. He was responsible for her damage to her car because it's obvious that this trailer is illegal. Yeah, not sure what that was supposed to imply, but whatever. The man in a truck is cooler in the head than a woman. And who wouldn't be? And asked my co-worker to take a picture of their vehicles, the damage, and the woman in case she drove off. He quickly complied and called the police about the accident. This diverted part of Karen's attention away from the truck driver and instead to my co-worker. "How dare you!" she screamed at him. "You can't take pictures of me like that!" My co-worker, who loves a good confrontation, tells her that he took it in case she didn't stay around for the police. The mention of the police immediately toned down Karen to normal levels again. Well, normal Karen levels. "Why are you doing this?" she repeated, paying no attention to his earlier comment about the police, at least openly. "I'm protecting my customer during an accident, ma'am," he replied to her. "But you should be protecting me," she cried. It took a minute and the manager was sticking her head in. But Karen finally pulled into a parking lot decidedly distant from where the truck parked and waited for the police to arrive, although with a look in her eye that said that she would be sure that some manager somewhere will pay today. After a few minutes, the police showed up and took statements. No major battles with the police, no one let off in chains or handcuffs. But Karen did end up paying for the damage she caused for the trailer, even though the guy wasn't going to ask for it if she just acted civil from the very beginning and didn't make up scenarios to put the blame on him. Just a Karen who damaged her car and her ego in less than a minute. This happened just yesterday. A friend of the family who I always had to call aunt is a woman who has a teenage son that I have always had to call cousin. That is on the autistic spectrum. She's usually nice but is a total Karen when it comes to her son. She and her son came to our house to stay a couple of days because she was traveling to her vacations. She arrived sometime before my friend came to pick me up for work, so I was giving them company. Her son is 16 and isn't dumb at all. He speaks almost 3 languages, but can be really childish, so I give him my phone to play. I was listening her speech about how social networks are evil and only cause damage, are full of lies and predators, except for her Facebook, of course. When my friends arrived, I just ran and went on my merry way. and I did not realize it. I didn't get my phone until several hours later. When I came back from work, she was angrily waiting for me. I could hear her son crying in her room. My phone was on the table and my family was looking at me weird. I couldn't think of anything for that behavior, so I asked what happened. She handed me my phone and my Facebook account was suspended. I was banned for a subreddit, and I had several messages from my friends telling me that someone was using my account and got some angry messages on other social media platforms. This is what happened. Since her son wasn't allowed to have social networks and his mother didn't realize that he still had my phone, he browsed through all my phone's social networks and communication apps, subscribed to several accounts related to his favorite movie/book, and then he started to argue with everyone about the books in different platforms. Then he went to Discord and got expelled. Then he went to Reddit and got banned from the sub. When his begs didn't work to lift the ban, he went to Facebook to complain in the fan page of the book and got me suspended for insulting the people that didn't agree with him. Then he tried to get help from another platforms and got some people angry at me there as well. When I arrived home, his mom was angry at me because her son couldn't enjoy his book anymore for the bad time he got. Then she scolded me and contradicted herself because she was angry, telling me how bad social networks are, but also telling me how it was my fault her son got exposed to such a horrible time. I explained to her that he got me banned, not himself, and that he could just make his own accounts now. But she didn't want that. She wanted him to get unbanned because that made him feel unwelcome, and that he couldn't have his own accounts because social networks are evil, but he could use mine. Wow, that logic. My family was understanding, but since the kid was feeling bad, I just sighed and tried. Facebook was a lost cause. The Reddit moderator thought I was lying and being childish. The Discord mod was understanding after a little talk, and the people on the other apps were a mixture of understanding and believing I was a jerk. She still thinks it was all my fault and is angry at me even after I explained that I was the only one harmed here. She thinks I didn't get unbanned from other social networks and I was just being mean, and probably she's going to believe that for years, just like other situations like this one. Now I just can hope to not get another situation like this until they leave. Her husband called to apologize to me about what happened though. I can understand her desire to protect her son, but I cannot control the internet response. Update. We found why he even thought of doing all of those things, and after explaining to him how hurtful the things he said could be, he felt really bad and wanted to apologize, and was very important for him to see that he was forgiven. I messaged the people he spoke with and got a response from almost everyone, except the Reddit moderator. He refused to accept the apology and couldn't even send a fake message forgiving him. So I called the dad to tell him how the apology went, and he told me that he managed to get his son to tell him where did he get the idea. Apparently he was so excited to have access to all of those sites and networks that he called one of his friends who usually tells him about internet, and that little idiot told him what to do because he thought it would be funny. And later when he got the message of being banned, the little idiot was the one with the idea of complaining in other sites, and even told him to contact the mods to get them mad. He was told not to speak to that kid unsupervised again, and he is also grounded now. And now we have reached the end of today's stories. Thank you for watching and see you next time.